Welcome to the Hammers Academy YouTube channel. We're a brand new West Ham fan hub, and this is our first video, which is very exciting to be doing. I'm Henry Tomlinson. I have started this channel with Adam. Sadly, he can't be here today because he's having a doctor's appointment about his new baby, which is very exciting. But I am joined by Lou. Hi, how are you doing, Lou?
Yeah, good to be on the new channel. Hopefully it'll grow pretty quickly and we can make some pretty good content for West Ham fans to watch and over some trying times.
Yeah, exactly. I think if we could bring anyone joy during this time, that'd be great. And Justin, you are joining us today. How are you doing?
Yeah, Henry, doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be part of this channel.
Great, and that's great to hear, guys. And so for our first video, we put out some questions on Twitter yesterday, and so we're going to be answering the questions as best we can with our own opinions and see how we get on, really. So the first question is, which academy under the radar players do we think have the potential to make it in the Prem? Lou, do you want to go first? Obviously, there's been a few that have played in the cups and pre-season featured quite heavily, like Jamal Baptiste, Harrison Ashby, Obideku. He played briefly, I think, in one game, and Alese. So there's lots going on with the youth. Who do you think has the potential to maybe break into the Prem, hopefully this season?
Yeah, I was going to mention Harrison Ashby. I think not just because of his potential alone, but the position that he plays in is obviously one that West Ham fans think we need covering and hopefully a breakthrough. Because we're not exactly well covered in the fullback positions at the minute, or defence as a whole. But he played against Hull. I was going to say Charlton Hull on Tuesday night, and he looked the real deal.
Play briefly against Charlton.
Yeah, sorry, he did come on, but he started against Hull, and he looked really bright. He linked up with Yarmolenko well down the right hand side. He almost had a goal in the opening exchange of the game where he burst forward, he cut onto his left, but it was a good save by the keeper. And yeah, he seems highly rated by the squad members. I think Declan Rice has mentioned him on social media as one of the upcoming talents in the squad. And yeah, I'm excited to see if he'll get any more game time. I doubt he'll get in the Premier League anytime soon with the position that we're in and the teams we're playing. But we've got another cup game against Everton next week, and I certainly won't be averse to starting him, even against the level of opposition that is Everton, to see how he can handle that. He obviously got a dislocated finger. I don't think I'll keep him out for too long. Dislocated, so we should be okay for next week. And yeah, like I say, hopefully he gets another chance next week where, like I say, we can see what he can do against that level of opposition. See if he is ready, if he is needed, in the Premier League. If one injury and he might be in the squad. And yeah, so Ashby looks like an exciting prospect for me.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Harrison Ashby. One of the things that sort of stood out for me was just his physical figure. He didn't, for an 18-year-old, usually when they come through like Declan Rice did, they're always a bit scrawny, easily sort of knocked off the ball. But he's relatively tall. He looked relatively solid. So he's got the physical presence there where he's not going to be immediately bullied by experienced players in the Premier League. So I think he's got everything, all of the stuff he needs to succeed in the Premier League. And as you say, if one injury to Fredericks and Johnson's not performing, he could very easily find himself in the first team squad without long if he plays how he did against Hull. I don't see a problem playing him there, really. I had a lot of confidence with him. I was praising him to my girlfriend, and then 2 minutes later he got injured. But yeah, so Justin, what about you? Does anyone sort of stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think out of the under the radar players that I have actually seen play, it would be Ashby for me as well. Albeit I haven't seen a lot of these under the radar players play. I have heard great things about Nepo. I always forget his last name. Odebeko, I think it is. I've heard great things about him coming up through the ranks. Alessi also played very well, I thought, versus Hall. But I would agree with everything that you guys have said so far about Ashby, especially you, Henry, when you were saying that he just looked physically, he looked like he was closer to being built for the Premier League than maybe the other under the radar guys that we're talking about. Yet obviously performed very well too. Lou, you mentioned he almost scored. Maybe a bit more of an experienced player puts that in the back of the net. It was a good save by the Hall keeper, but he seems to own that position and put himself in positions on the pitch where he was dangerous, linked up with Yarmolenko as well, very well. So again, in a limited capacity, I haven't seen a lot of these under the radar players play. But from what I've seen, I think I'll stick with Ashby as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I would also like to, as you gave him a mention, Alesse, I thought when he played as well, I thought he looked very, very competent in that sort of defensive position. And he looks really solid. I think in my predicted team, well, not my predicted team, my chosen team that I'd pick to play against Wolves, I had him in if Diop's not going to be able to play. If we're sticking with the three at the back, I mean, I value Rice in the midfield very highly. So I'd like to keep him there and have Balbuena play and then Alesse be given a chance because I think he deserves it. I think he's shown during his sort of brief moments that he's been able to have with the first team that he is capable of stepping up to the level required of him. And at the end of the day, the players are only going to make it if you give them the chances in the league. If Declan Rice was never given the chance against Burnley and was like, oh, we'll just hold him for the League Cup and everything, then you wouldn't have known where he could have gone from. So I think like they all.
And so,
yeah.
if he was to be played, make his Premier League debut, I think a back three like Moyes played last week, I think that would be good for him because he wouldn't be left isolated or on his own, and he'd have more cover to be able to just a bit more insurance, and a couple more experienced head next to him, guiding him through the game. So if he was to be played, it would be a good opportunity in a back three. But yeah,
exactly.
And we're gonna need more cover too. Oh, sorry, Henry. I was just gonna say we're gonna need more cover too on that left-hand side of the defense because you have Traore on the right wing, and he's just absolutely destroyed us every time he's played against us. So I actually personally believe we need to play three at the back with a wing back on the left side. So just echoing your point there, because against Wolves, you really don't want to leave anyone out alone on that left flank, especially a youngster like Alessi.
I think in my mind I'd have Ogbonna. It's the left centre back role, and then because he's done so well in that role, basically having to cover left back anyway before we switch to the five at the back. So you'd have Masuaku, Ogbonna, Alesse in the middle, and then Balbuena. So he's got cover on both sides, or he can be the one to help cover. At least that's sort of my thinking. But yeah, that question was from Alan Reska, Bavel West Ham. The next question is from JH_journalism, Jack Hobbs, News Hub. He asks, would you sell Declan Rice for £60 million and have 80 million overall to spend on improving the squad, or keep Rice and only having 20 to 30 million pounds on strengthening the side? Justin, I'll come to you first. It's obviously a hot topic at the moment. What's going to happen to Declan Rice?
Yeah, and it's also a very hypothetical question because we don't have any money to spend at the moment. But if I had to pick from those two scenarios, I'd pick the latter. I'd pick not selling Declan and having 20 to 30 million to spend for two reasons. One, if we actually had 20 to 30 million to spend, or if we actually had spent it wisely so far this transfer window, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be happy, especially compared to the dreadful transfer window we've had so far. But then the second reason is I simply don't trust that the funds that we'd receive for Declan would be spent wisely. Let alone even invested in the squad. I don't even know if all of it would be invested in the squad, but whatever is invested, I simply don't trust those funds to be invested wisely, especially with the lack of a proper scouting and recruiting department, and the fact that David Sullivan simply seems to just rely on agents for player recommendations. So I'd go with the latter of keeping Declan because we know what we have with him. He is so vital to the squad. And then, I'd take 20 to 30 million to spend right now in a heartbeat. So I'd probably go with that.
And they?
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think Justin makes a good point about not trusting the board to go out and spend that money reliably. If we had a competent board and who would invest in the squad and make a suitable replacement for Rice, because that's what we'd need if we let him go, then I'm still not sure I'd be up for selling Rice, but I'd be more willing for that to happen. Again, Rice is just so vital to the squad. He obviously in the way he plays, but he's a leader on the pitch now. He is our co-captain basically. Well, not co-captain, but in a sense vice captain at the minute, as he's being picked as captain ahead in Noble's absence. And yeah, I don't think. I know reports are today that Rice may be pushing for a move to Chelsea, but even if he didn't get that move, I still think he'd put in 110% for the club until he did get that move. He obviously respects the club and respects the fans and loves the fans. So yeah, I'd definitely keep Rice and just hope that we can spend that leftover 30 million in areas that we need, because boy, do we need it. But it's also the fact that going out and spending 30 million plus whatever money we got for Rice this late in the transfer window might not be doable, and it would be a bit more difficult for clubs, because clubs would suddenly know we have all that money. Yeah. So they would just drive up the price, and we know how tight Sullivan is, and yeah, there's all those factors just lead me to wanted to keep Rice, and hopefully we can invest the 30 million well.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree. We've got to keep Rice, because I think we've got such a hole in the defence that selling Declan Rice would create just a bigger hole in the midfield, and no matter how much money we got for him, we won't fill that hole with the same quality and strengthen that position. If we took the whole money and bought someone that was capable of playing at left back and centre back, or left centre back, that sort of middle main role, then I feel like we could do that. But obviously at the moment we seem to be trying to spend some money, but it seems all the bids are failing one way or another. I think I saw one of the bids earlier for Wesley Fofana. We'd offered £23 million and £10 million add-ons, but it was going to be spread over the next 6 years, which is quite a laughable deal if you're St Etienne, especially when you've got someone like Leicester who's going to do probably a more serious deal, that you will take that. So I think everyone sort of understand why Declan Rice would leave and why we'd accept it with the amount of money that we can bring in for him. I think the main reason why no one wants to sell him is the fact that no one trusts the current ownership to properly replace and reinvest the money, and that's the main reason losing Declan Rice is so terrifying, really. But yeah, so I think we're all sort of in agreement that we'd rather just keep Rice so we don't have to worry about reinvesting the money with the current ownership. Almost wait until the club gets bought and then sell Rice with people we trust to do the right thing for the club, really. And so our final question from Jeremiah Carson. If West Ham doesn't sign anyone, a bit on point, how confident are you that we will stay up? Lou, I'll come to you first. We'll start the chat. We'll start the channel off with some really positive chat.
Yeah, with the current state of the squad, mainly, as we've discussed in defence, I just don't think we have enough quality to keep most teams out in the league. And it will just be all a whole season of trying to outscore the opponents, and I'm not sure we have the quality for that either. So I think ultimately it will lead to relegation, because as we've seen during this transfer window, the likes of Aston Villa, who finished one place below us, they've strengthened the squad. They've strengthened in areas that they needed to, and they've looked quite good so far in the league. They beat Sheffield United.
I think a new signing, Bertrand Traore, scored 14 minutes into his debut in the league.
Yeah, I think they won tonight as well. They beat Sheffield at the weekend. But yeah, it's about us really, and if we do enough, we'll stay up. But if the defense just has so many holes, and I mean, the only way of trying to make sure the defense doesn't leak goals is, like we've previously discussed, is the 5 at the back formation, where you go quantity over quality really, and it worked for Moyes in his first time round. I'm not sure it will this time round. Everyone, he's still playing Cresswell there at the minute. Obviously, that would continue if we didn't bring in another centre back. And he's a couple of years older. He did an adequate job at the first time round, but I don't think he could keep it up for an entire season. And our win backs, while they can be exciting on the day, aren't to be trusted. And yeah, I think the general mood around the club at the minute is we will be relegated if we don't make any significant purchases. And I'll be surprised if others don't agree with me then.
Justin, please be a bit more positive than they.
I mean, it's obvious that the squad needs strengthening. I think we can all agree, and based on that assumption, obviously our chances of relegation increase the longer we go up without signing a significant addition to the squad. That being said, and I mean, I know we've had West Ham squads in the past where we've said this before. There, in terms of talent and quality on paper, there are 3 worse teams in the league than West Ham. Of course, the matches are played on the pitch. That's why you play the games. I still personally believe we're going to stay up. It will be by the skin of our teeth. I predicted that we'd finish 17th. Maybe it's just blind optimism. Maybe it's because I've never seen a relegation. I started supporting the team in 2014. So maybe I'm just in denial. But that all being said, it's obvious the squad needs strengthening. Left back, of course, is we're desperate. We really only have one left back, in my opinion. I don't consider Arthur one. Probably need some help in the midfield, another center back. I mean, it's holes all over the squad, so we're in desperate need for a signing. I put our odds of relegation at, like, without any significant signings, maybe it's sort of a 50-50 toss-up at this point for me. Again, maybe it's blind optimism, but obviously we're in desperate need of additional players.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be very much the blind optimist. I don't think we're going to get relegated, to be honest. I think, like Justin said, on paper, our squad is very good going forward. Like, you've got players like Felipe Anderson and Haller and Yarmolenko, who are in the League Cup, are showing what they can do. If they can do half of what they've done in the League Cup so far in the Premier League, we will score plenty of goals. I still think there's a capable back four somewhere in there, and it just needs one signing at left back. I think Diop is still a player that just sort of needs to regain form. Ogbonna is a solid. Right back, I don't think is as big an issue as some people make it out to be. I know Fredericks can be inconsistent, but also has very good games. If we just get a left back, then I think we'll be fine. And I don't know how close we'll be to it, but I believe we'll be all right. So I will be the blind optimist. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. Please check out everyone's social medias in the description below. Please like and subscribe to the Hammers Academy for more videos like this. And for now, come on you Irons.